The world was recently shaken by the tragic passing of Nnamdi Ezike, the 21-month-old son of acclaimed author Chimamamda Ngozi Adichie and her husband, Dr. Ivara Ezike. Beyond the headlines lies a family in deep pain. Now, joining us to share this very painful loss and matters arising from it is Nkanu's aunt, Dr. Anthea Ezike Nwandu, a dual board-certified internal medicine physician with over 30 years of clinical experience, who is speaking out both as a family and as a medical professional in a call for transparency, accountability, and urgent healthcare. My condolences, first of all, and great to have you here on Perspectives. So let me start. We just heard the shocking news that your nephew's death was due to medical negligence. So please, can you tell us what exactly happened? First of all, our condolences, as I said before.
Thank you very much. So my nephew was admitted at Atlantis Pediatric Care Hospital and was being managed there.
Here in Nigeria?
In Lagos.
Yes.
He had been stabilized and there were plans underway to have him moved to Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. The team had requested that he receive an MRI of the brain, a spinal tap, and a central line in order to further evaluate him and prepare him for the journey. Atlantis recommended Eurocare as the best place to get these procedures done. He was transported by ambulance to Eurocare Hospital in VI and was taken to the MRI suite. At the MRI suite, he was reported to be restless. And so to do the MRI scan, you do need the patient to be still. So he received IV sedation.
He received what?
IV, intravenous sedation with propofol.
Yes. Sorry, my condolences.
So he received IV sedation for the imaging, and the medical director, shortly after that, affirmed to Chimamamda that he received too much sedation. Wow. Between the MRI suite and the cardiac cath lab, where he was to receive the second procedure, the spinal tap and the central line, he was unmonitored. He was supposed to be on oxygen. He was not on oxygen. And so reportedly arrived at the cardiac cath suite.
This was in the same hospital, in the same building?
Reportedly arrived at the cardiac cath suite, pulseless. And so CPR was instituted. He was placed on a life support machine, mechanical ventilation. And of note, he was transported, a critically ill baby who came in on oxygen. That was,
at that time, not breathing.
That at the time was found to be pulseless and transported in a way that was not according to standards of practice and was found to be pulseless in the cardiac cath lab. Reports, as we know, investigations are still ongoing. What happened in that interim is yet to be determined.
So, three things.
The medical negligence happened between after he got over-sedated, as affirmed by the medical director, and in addition, he was transported by the anesthetist on his shoulder, unmonitored, not on oxygen. And that is pure and total medical negligence.
Wow.
And a critically ill baby who came in on oxygen was disconnected from his oxygen for transportation, unmonitored.
Well, why was he disconnected from the oxygen?
I can't answer that question.
So that was that due to absolute negligence?
Pure negligence.
So wait,
resulting in cardiac arrest and from the oversedation and brain injury.
So he was oversedated, then he was not breathing, and he wasn't given any oxygen.
And so was transported.
And was transported during that time.
During that time, unmonitored and not on oxygen.
With no oxygen tank.
No oxygen. And so he arrived at the MRI suite, pulseless.
And that was at that point in time was when they now decided to try and put him on the oxygen. Resuscitate him, which they should have done.
He should have been transported on oxygen and monitored continuously.
Continuously.
Not only oxygen, his blood pressure, his pulse, and his breathing should have been monitored continuously.
But is the hospital aware of this negligence? Have they acknowledged where it went wrong?
They're aware.
So what is now the next step?
So I'm a physician. I've worked for over 30 years in various healthcare systems. And I've worked at the hospitals, at bedside. This is evidence or a symptom of a totally dysfunctional healthcare system. At the hospital level, probably at the wider society level. And I'm speaking not just as a physician, but as someone who is deeply pained by the loss of my baby boy, my Nkanu. And so, in a healthcare system that is dysfunctional, there has to be accountability. There has to be change. There has to be systemic reforms. An apology is not enough. Acknowledging fault or responsibility is not enough. That would just simply mean that the tragedy is just another loss.
And we've had one loss too many.
We are able to speak up. We are able to demand change. We are able to speak to the public, to demand and be outraged, not just for this tragedy that has affected us, but for so many others who are probably unable to speak up, don't have the means to speak up, or no one will listen to them. So this is a warning for everyone at multiple levels, from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top, to demand change.
Now, when this happened, did they give you any excuse as to why he was left unattended at those crucial moments? Did the hospital tell you why, or they have just not given you any answer that is plausible enough?
Investigations are ongoing. This is a report we have received so far from interviews with the doctors. I can't speak for him. I don't know what he was thinking, but it was clearly negligence. Any child, any patient who is critically ill comes to you on oxygen, receives an overdose of IV sedation, requires continuous monitoring every second of your oxygen levels in your blood, of your blood pressure, of your breathing, your pulse, requires continuous monitoring in this context.
Can you explain how bad the overdose was? What was he supposed to have been given, and what was he now given?
So
instead?
we were told he was given propofol. Chimamamda was there when this happened, and she was informed that he was over-sedated, so received too much propofol. I cannot tell you how much he gave, when he gave it, because I don't have that record. I don't have that information. I would love to know that as well. But the evidence is clear that he was over-sedated and he was found to be pulseless, which means his brain stopped, his circulation stopped, he was resuscitated, and subsequently, even after that, the anesthetist did not follow standard protocols and procedures for a patient, for a critically ill baby that was sedated and over-sedated.
Wow. So what is your family's ultimate goal now, beyond seeking answers? How can this tragedy help ensure that medical personnel and healthcare facilities do not fail another family in the same way?
So, Nkanu is gone, right? Nkanu is gone. We'll never get Nkanu back. But we want accountability. We want consequences. We want reforms at multiple levels. At the level of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, at the level of the Ministry of Health, at the level of the multiple policymakers involved in making decisions, at the level of the hospital leadership boards, at the level of healthcare providers, and the general public.
Yes.
They have a right to demand proper care. They have a right. We are now the voice for the voiceless. We are now speaking for those who are unable to speak up. And for those who probably have lost their children without anyone even knowing. And there were no consequences. Yes. There was no accountability.
Anyway, we're going for a short break now.
Okay.
So we're going for a short break now. Please don't go anywhere soon. We'll see you right back on Perspectives. Welcome back to Perspectives. Let's get straight back to our doctor in the house. Now, Anthea, I want to ask you, what hospital did this happen? Because I don't think we mentioned the hospital itself. What hospital did this situation happen?
It happened at Eurocare.
Eurocare?
In VI, yes.
Wow. Now, so what steps do you want to take, and what are the medical bodies that need to be involved in order for you to really make a big case out of the situation and use it as a case study for future incidents? What bodies are you going to get? Medical bodies are you approaching?
So our ultimate goal, like I said, is accountability and consequences and justice. Obviously, Nwandu cannot come back. He's gone. But we don't want his death to be in vain. Mm-hmm. Apologies are not enough. Taking responsibility is not enough. We're demanding a thorough, transparent investigation and consequences. For this to result in systemic, sustainable changes in the Nigerian healthcare system, multiple levels need to be involved, including the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, which is the licensing board for healthcare providers in Nigeria, the Ministry of Health and the policymakers, hospital boards, hospital leadership, individual healthcare providers, and the general public. There needs to be ongoing, continuous medical education of providers, supervision of providers, patient safety systems in place at multiple levels to prevent tragedies like this from happening. The general public needs to know what their rights are, and they should have a forum to be able to speak up when they feel or they don't feel that their loved one is being treated with respect and dignity. And
many of them are not even aware of the power that they have to address the issues like you're just doing now. A lot of them just fade into oblivion and, call it God's...
it's God's will
or whatever.
And no one knows about it.
Exactly. There's even been incidents. Do you also think that we need more medical lawyers that will support patients and fight their cause? Absolutely. I don't know whether we have enough of those here, because if every hospital that created such misdemeanor, if they were being, and it's not about money, but if they were being sued and they were losing hundreds of millions with every scenario like this that happens, maybe they will be a lot more careful. But I don't see things like that happening. You hear of controversial deaths like this, and then after a while it just fades into oblivion. So do you also think that we need stronger medical lawyers here?
Absolutely.
To be able to handle these cases and
medical malpractice is almost, and consequences is almost non-existent in Nigeria.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Patients don't have a voice. There's no one advocating for families or the general public and those who can't afford it. There's no forum for patients to speak up and share. Healthcare providers also are poorly trained, not accountable to anyone, have no compassion. It's as if life is just so cheap in Nigeria.
Do you also think that the level of training remains poor because of this Japa syndrome? Because if you look, I think recently our doctors apparently had gone on strike or were supposed to have gone on strike. And every time you look at the medical system, it makes you wonder whether we're not even living in very dangerous times. Because most of these hospitals, they train doctors to a certain level, but the doctors japa. So do you think also this adds to the malpractices that happen in hospitals, the level of quality of doctors that we have on ground?
I think there's a fundamental problem in the healthcare system and the training systems in Nigeria. The training systems are very deficient. The doctors literally have no mentors, they're not supervised. They don't even know, many people don't know what patient safety systems are. It's a system. It's not just a thing. It's a system that is designed to prevent this kind of thing. So, I mean, even if doctors are buying, the few that are left here should be trained properly. They should know, they should be aware, there should be consequences, there should be systems in place to prevent
But one would have
tragedies.
thought in a place like Eurocare, such things will not be compromised.
Well, it's obvious that the doctor did not follow standard practice, standard clinical practice. What is the accountability at the individual level and at the hospital level? We will see. But there has to be accountability. Every provider, every hospital, every institution needs to have in place accountability structures, not just being fired. Because this person who's being fired can go to the next hospital and do the same, commit the same mistakes. And it's not just that. The provider that I spoke with at the hospital was so nonchalant.
After the incident happened?
Yes, I spoke with him.
Are you serious?
I interviewed him. He was so nonchalant. He was literally...
This is after the boy had
literally
died.
was looking at me and smiling, and I had to say
He was
to him,
smiling?
There's nothing funny here. This is not funny. There's nothing to smile about.
Wow, that's what he's
I
smiling.
don't understand why there's no element of compassion, empathy.
So there was no remorse, there was no sorrow, there was no...
None.
Oh my word.
So, and he was clearly negligent. He was clearly
But was
negligent.
he aware that he was negligent?
This
was
is
he aware
where,
of his negligence, or
this
it was
is
brought
where,
to his attention after?
This is where, it's a verbal report. I don't have the medical records yet. It's a verbal report. His medical director did admit that he was clearly negligent. He did not take responsibility. But the medical director did so,
We
and
thank God for
admitted
that, at least.
that this particular provider was incompetent. Okay. He did not follow standard clinical practice for a patient who was critically ill.
A 21-month-old baby.
21-month-old baby, critically ill, on oxygen, had just received, we don't know how much IV sedation he was given, but again, it was affirmed.
Overdose.
It was affirmed to the Chimamamda that he received too much propofol.
Oh my word. So,
and after that, proceeded to transport my nephew
with no oxygen,
with no monitoring, no oxygen, no continuous monitoring, which is standard clinical practice.
How was he transported? Did he carry him
on his shoulder?
Oh, he carried him on his shoulder.
On his shoulder.
Oh my word! Someone that was meant to be on oxygen. Oh my word! So I'm so sorry to hear about this, and I want you to understand, please. My condolences. I'm so sorry to hear about this, please. We're so sorry that this has happened. Please give our heartfelt condolences to Chimamanda and her husband. She has been loved by many. She's our literal icon. She has so many fans all over the world, and I do hope that she understands that we share her pain. So sorry about this, and I hope that you will see the end of this. So sorry. Thank you so much, Anthea, Doctor, for your very informative piece. And we are behind you. Anytime that you need any form of media awareness, please feel free to see us. We'll continue to pray for you and your family, for your irreparable loss.
And I have to say that, can I say one more thing?
Yes.
This
please.
is a call to action. From the top to the bottom.
Yes.
From our government, like I said, the licensing bodies, to hospital leadership, medical institutions, academic, non-academic, healthcare providers, and the general public.
Yes.
It is a call to action. It is a call to demand for change.
Yes.
And we are speaking for the voiceless.
Yes.
We are now the voice of the voiceless.
Yes.
To demand this change at multiple levels.
Thank you.
For patient safety.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anthea. Thank you so much for your piece on this matter. And like I said, we are behind you fully. If you need us at any time, we're here to support you in whatever you decide to do.
Thank you.
So as we close, we hold space for two distinct yet deeply human losses. We extend compassion and grace to the family of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie as they mourn the loss of their son. And separately, In reflecting on the passing of Anda Damisa, we say to those struggling in silence, those struggling with mental health, you are not a burden. Your pain is real and help exists, even when it feels far away. For the rest of us, let Damisa's passing be a call to listen more, judge less, and create spaces where people feel safe enough to speak before silence feels like the only option left. And to the Chimamanda and her family, we are behind you 100%, and we use this story to set a new precedent in the medical field in Nigeria. Hopefully, we will get to the end of the matter. We support you and we will continue to give you our deepest condolences. So that's all we have time for today. You've been watching Perspectives here on Arise News with me, Ruth Osime. Until same time next week, do stay safe and have a great time. Bye.